Give you a countdown. Here we go.
It is Friday, December 14, 2018. I'm Renee Ritchie, and right now we're going to talk in the baffling week of rumors and upcoming Christmas and holiday fantasticals that is this month in Apple, because this is the iMore Show. Joining me this week, we have our rock, our foundation, the mother of dragons, the queen of music, the destroyer of mics, but the salvager of souls. Lori Gill, how are you?
It keeps changing. I like this one. The destroyer of mics, but salvager of souls. That's a good one.
There we go. There we go. Also joining us, that's not Drifloom, the new 4th generation Pokemon you've all been hunting all week. That is wearing the same hat, Georgia Dow. How are you, Georgia?
Wait, you stole my hat? Get that back. Gotta catch
Is that the actual hat you wear on ski slopes?
Yeah. It's
will
got
never
the
be wrong.
pom-pom on top.
That's my
That doesn't
favorite
look
part.
like a pom-pom. That looks like an actual like Courtier de Bois went out and caught a small woodland animal.
I bought, I didn't actually order it. I just put it in my checkout, one with 2 pom-poms, so it looks like ears. Let me grab my tribble, but it would kind of look silly.
Is there a naked squirrel in your garden now that you need to tell us about?
This is my tribble. It's my
No,
tribble, really. The pom-pom?
Yeah, Georgia gave
Yeah,
me
there might be a rabbit somewhere without a tail. It's okay.
We had a moose on the roads a couple months ago, Lori. It crossed over and just was walking down the street.
I don't think I've ever seen a moose in real life before.
Once you see a moose, you understand why there are mythology around trolls and ogres in the old stories. They're just so big. All right, so much to talk about. Let's get the annoying stuff out of the way first. So iPhone sales were doomed, which they are every quarter because people want to short the stock and then make a lot of money when they turn out not to be doomed. And that started happening. So first we got rumors that Apple wasn't selling enough iPhones because suppliers said that they were losing money. And then there were rumors that suppliers were making a ton of money. So it sounded like Apple was selling a lot of iPhones. And now I usually call him iPhone supply chain exfiltrator extraordinaire Ming-Chi Kuo, or Kuo Ming-Chi, if you want to say it the proper way, has said that iPhone XR specifically is not selling anywhere nearly as well as Apple expected, and that in general, the iPhone market has reached saturation and that Apple will be selling less iPhones going forward because we've hit the PC problem. Almost everybody who wants one has one, and they're pretty happy with the one that they have. And unless they're going to get a glowing Apple logo like Georgia wants, or the ability to pour coffee and or spirits out of the Lightning port like Lori and I want, there's just not that compelling a reason for people to upgrade. Are you shocked by this, Lori?
No, and I think it's just, this is, so what do you do next, I guess, is where we hit. So it's clear that not just Apple, but I think smartphones in general,
Samsung was in the toilet this year too.
Right. So
like the 2 biggest.
The mobile phone market, if you want to say, it's everybody's got one. It's hard to go past. There's this sort of like peak that plateaus, which apparently the plateau has passed, and now we're kind of heading into a dip, apparently. But what do you do then? So as a tech company whose largest money-making product has been a smartphone, and the market is now saturated, and there isn't any new technology to really push you to push everyone to drop their phone and get the new one, what's the next step is where we go from here.
Stores on Mars, Georgia? What do you think? Should Apple just open stores on Mars, start selling to a whole new market?
No, because eventually you're going to want to upgrade. Like if everyone's going to upgrade every 3-4 years, maybe some might hold out for 6. Eventually the entire market is going to be able to turn over. Like you can't expect that year after year there's going to be more people buying than the amount of people that are going to stop. But Apple's also really smart in being able to market this. They make, like, they're okay. Apple's going to be absolutely okay. I don't really worry about them. Like, again, be shocked. I think they'll survive this, like, small dip of maybe not as excessive growth as some people would expect, but that's fine. We're still going to be buying phones maybe not every year, like, except for like us,
right?
Which is like, for me, it's usually like once every 2 or like ish, but that's because I do this.
Like from one point of view, you look at Wall Street and you say it's not understandable because all they want is more and more growth, but they have to realize there's a law of large numbers. And if you double how many people buy an iPhone every year, eventually you literally run out of people. But at the same time, Wall Street's like, well, that's not our problem. We'll just leave Apple and go to the next company that's doing something else that can still grow. We would literally, like, they would literally prefer a company that's losing money to start making money than a company that's making money, keep making money, because they're all about the more. They're all about, you know,
it's just about the numbers, right? Like it's just about how much more profit they can make and where they're starting from to where they're at. So, you know, I don't think that that's a real fair assessment of a company. But again, you know, that's what drives the markets. So that's what, you know,
yeah,
will want to catastrophize.
It's like you're looking, you have to look at the tech world from two different angles. You have to look at it from the angle of like the consumer, which is like all of these tech companies, Apple especially, are doing fantastic. They're certainly not doomed. They're certainly not losing money. But when you look at the stock market and you see that, you know, like Apple closed below what it opened with for the year, that's like not detrimental, but that is not normal for what Apple would do in stock. And I do think like they're separate worlds, but they somehow they have to be combined, because the reason the stock has dropped has to do with the fact that Apple's growth is not as big as it has been before. But the fact that Apple's growth isn't as big as it has been before just has to do with the fact that technology has finally plateaued. And that's normal. I think, Renee, you might have been the one that talked about cars and how, you know, when the car industry first started, cars were, you know, being made left and right, and new cars were being made constantly. And it was this big thing. There was lots of money to be made and there was lots of profits to be had. And then at some point, everybody had a car. And especially with cars, people don't buy a new one every year. So then it becomes like a plateau of the market. And I think technology is hitting a plateau in the market right now.
We treat technology differently, though. Like we're very, it's a weird, strange psychology thing, Georgia. Like the price of almost everything goes up in our lives, but technology has been going down because it's such a new thing. It's one of the few things that our generation was born into. Like we weren't there when there were no cars, and then suddenly cars. Like we didn't go from the horse to the buggy to the car. So this is what we're seeing. And it was incredibly expensive. Like I think my first Apple II cost like $20,000 in real money back, you know, decades ago. Never mind how cheap we can buy them now. But we've decided that they should be super cheap. Like movie tickets are 8 times what I used to pay for them. They keep going up. That's fine. But like computers, they should be going down. But at the same time, I think they have an ability to grow that cars maybe don't. Like once you buy a car, it's not a platform that I can get you to buy like warranties and like fins and things. But Apple's got the iPhone now. It's this huge platform. And apparently AirPod sales are through the roof and climbing. Apple's also put out HomePod. They have Apple TV. They have Apple Music. They have all of these other things that they can now go and sell to people who already have iPhones.
Yeah, I think the what you're talking about with Apple Music is a good example of if the sort of TV world that we see the rumors and some facts of them getting into. I think Apple is positioning itself to try to take over some services and try to make money that way and try to grow what their bottom line looks like to their investors by having. And I think there is something to be said for why Apple decided to no longer share unit sales, because that's just not the right way to decide how whether your company is growing or not and how they're doing. And by kind of like incorporating the services that Apple is bringing into the fold, I think that's they're repositioning what they're doing. They're going to constantly keep making the best phones and be the biggest phone seller, individual phone seller, but at the same time, they're going to kind of cushion that plateau of sales of devices by increasing how much people spend on subscription things. I think that there's some new information that came out recently that Apple is working on possibly adding or incorporating their magazine subscription curation into the news app, or maybe even having something separate.
Yeah, I think that like just being beholden to shareholders and the stock market and profits is an actual negative thing towards technology and being able to innovate, because it makes you want, once you get to a certain threshold, you want to stay safe. You want to keep in your kind of lane. You don't want to do anything that's going to rock the market because it's going to make angry shareholders that you're going to have to be beholden to. And then, you know, with Apple, like, you know, Tim Cook sneezes and suddenly their like, you know, price drops. so significantly to that. And so, you know, Apple has a great part is that they diversify in some really safe but great areas like the watch, and they have the HomePod, and they can take a look into those areas. But still, I think that Apple plays it safe because they kind of have to, because they'd make people angry if they do anything that is too outside of their realm of the things that they're doing. And services is great, but unfortunately, Apple does not have, like, I think that, you know, Apple Music as a service is great. I think that, you know, and also the App Store, but like really Apple's not great for making software that, you know, Siri's okay. Just, she doesn't understand when I talk to her.
Pretty good.
What?
iMessage is pretty good now.
iMessage is okay. It does not, like that it doesn't remember, like it only has 20 of my contacts. I have to kind of like go back and I can't search for anything that's there. And I get it because it's just a thing for memory, but there's stuff in it that still, you know, could be better to that. Like I'm not like raving about it being like, woo, this is a great, no, it's okay. It annoys me.
Siri. Emoji use. That's what's holding you back.
Yeah, get on that emoji and then you'll never.
It's not going to happen. It's just
Lori
not.
And I had a whole conversation in emoji yesterday. It was amazing.
It was pretty cute.
We both had Santa hats on.
No, I just don't. I don't know. I think it's gone. I don't know. For me, it's like it's already died. It's died. Its cuteness has worn off. Stop it. Fix Siri. Like,
can I get a bah humbug?
Can bah humbug. I want Siri to like be able. I can talk to Siri really softly, and Siri won't yell back at me. I'm like, Siri, like, get it.
But, Siri. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like one of those things that it bothers me that they even have the pressure to be able to constantly be making more money. It seems just so ridiculous and so filled by greed instead of by innovation. And I think it stifles growth. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Make good products, be a good company. And you know what? If you know, people are not making head over heels money, then invest in little tiny small companies with your money and leave Apple alone is my thought to it. Leave Apple alone.
That actually reminds me, if I can segue quickly, I went to Hour of Code again this year. I go every December. This year, though, I went to the one, I don't go to my local store. I went to the one on the next island on Laval because they've been given the whole Apple Store makeover. So they have the forum with the giant screen TV and all the chairs. And they had instead of just a regular class, they had regular classes too, but they had an entire high school. I think it was like 26 students. No, sorry, elementary school, 26 student elementary class of kids in there learning to code. And they had local developers from Budge Studios who makes the Transformer Bumblebee and a bunch of like Strawberry Shortcake and all these different games and apps for kids in there doing Q&A and helping them. And it was all like free. And I got a chance to talk to some of the people there. And I don't have official numbers, but even like in Canada, the numbers that Apple was spending on these free, like some people say they're not free because you got to buy Apple stuff, but you really don't. Like those kids, a lot of those kids didn't have any Apple stuff.
They don't. And they'll provide you with whatever you happen to need. Yeah. They give you a t-shirt and they really do like earbud, like they really do a lot of really cool stuff. Like my kids went to the code, like they loved it.
So just to top it off, is that they must be spending hundreds of millions of dollars, if not $1 billion or more, just on education. Never mind everything else that they're doing to teach kids to do code. And they've got all these. They even have a prototype class now, which is what they used to do at WWDC for developers to teach you how to start prototyping new apps. And they're adding more and more design stuff as well. And George, like you said, your kids went to those, and that's the sort of added value that you don't often hear in the conversation.
Well, because it doesn't make news. Like, unfortunately, our news is really driven by fear-based kind of content of doom and gloom to that. And like a lot of it is disingenuous, and it's just, they're not really scared about this. They just want to get a whole bunch of clicks. And so we get all these clickbaity kind of articles and things where Apple's doing good and being able to help out people and taking care of people and saving people's lives with, like, you know, my little fall detection of like, do we need to call that? Like, I was really comforted. Like, I have to say, it was a great feeling to be able to have that. And we don't get enough of those type of articles. And I get it, the shareholders matter, but do they really? Is that a horrible thing to say? Am I going to get lots of angry?
Apple actually kind of has this stance when you listen in on the investors meetings when questions like this come up, is that they do kind of say that we don't care what investors want. We do what we want. they do kind of like in a nicer way say we're doing this because we think it's the right thing to do because we're excited about this because this is where we want to move to, and we're not beholden to what the shareholders think. So Apple does actually think that way. It's just the rest of the world says that Apple is doomed just because their stock dropped by like 1/3% or something like that.
I think it's also probably that Apple's like such a large company that a small percentage is a huge amount of money.
I love angry Tim Cook though. Like when there was a hedge fund operator a couple of years ago who said Apple should stop wasting its money on accessibility and in the environment, and Tim Cook said basically sell your shares because I don't give a damn about the ROI when it comes to this stuff.
Even when he's angry, he's still so polite.
I know.
Oh no, I love fiery Tim Cook. Good morning. Good morning. So good.
So another way to know for sure that Apple is doomed is that they just decided that they were going to open another giant factory. That definitely shows that they're definitely not going to, they're losing money. They're hemorrhaging.
That's a one of those feudal kind of last ditch moments. You're right.
One of my favorite things about this story is that like Amazon was such a drama just such an overly dramatic about, oh, we're going to hold this, we're going to have competing bids, where are we going to be? It was like watching The Bachelor/Et, but done for corporate headquarters, and they totally bamboozled everybody. So kudos to them. But like Apple and other companies, they just announced Apple's going to build another huge they're going to build another huge facility in Austin. They already have a tech support and logistics infrastructure there, but they're going to be building a full campus there as well. And they're going to be expanding offices in areas like Seattle and Philadelphia, and just all these places with over 1,000 employees each.
It was kind of smart of Amazon though. It created buzz. People were talking about it, and then they ended up getting like, what is it, $3 or $6 million of a tax break, and like they're going to be getting a whole bunch of benefits because they made such a big kerfuffle about where they're going to be opening.
Like the really dumb competitive cities.
Well, exactly, but again,
it negatively affects their reputation to consumers, I think, too, because consumers are watching when they're watching what's happening. They're saying like, wait a minute, this multi-billion-dollar biggest retailer in the world just got a bunch of tax breaks while, I'm sitting over here and I can't get a job, or whatever the thought might be. Yeah. And I think it also it made what they did big news and then made them kind of look bad.
I was talking about this while I was in the car, and you're absolutely right. Like Amazon definitely does not treat its people very well. They've gotten a lot of bad press to that. Yet I think I've bought 30 different things in the last, I don't know, maybe 3, like 10 things a month from Amazon. And so you're absolutely right. Yet I didn't stop. Amazon has done horrible things, yet here I am, because they they treat their people horribly. It's horrible. Yet they give me as a consumer great service. Like there's a problem, they immediately will switch it. They'll take care. It's like right away. They send me another one. You don't have to pay for the shipping if something doesn't work, doesn't fit. You just don't like it. It doesn't smell the way you thought. You can send it back, and they are really sweet about that. And so I've been giving them a lot of money and a lot of sales, and I'm part of the problem, Lori. So you can, and others may fully judge me, but where I'm not the problem is with Facebook, which I am still, I was one of the first. I'm just saying, Facebook's the devil. I was the one.
For free. Cheap is more important than free.
Fair.
Oh, and Lori told me that they leaked all my streaking photos from Disney this morning, which
not even the ones that you posted for everyone to see. Unfortunately, the news just came in. All the private ones. The news just came in this morning that it was a bug in the system that it gave app developers too much access to the photos of up to 5.6 million users, which allowed them to pull their timeline photos and also receive their Facebook stories, even ones that they've never shared. So, it's kind of like a big security hole that Facebook kind of allowed anybody you would have given permission to an app to reshare your photos. There's lots and lots of apps out there that do that. but this bug made it so that they could accidentally access, or they couldn't accidentally access, but it accidentally gave them access to even photos that they didn't want made public. So they're in their own little private thing, pictures of, you know, you snogging with somebody you're not supposed to, or Renee squeaking at Disneyland.
Harry Potter.
The snog images are out. The funniest part, I was typing in like Facebook leaks data, and then
There's too many results.
There was too many. I got the October 30 million. I got the April, 87 million. I got the May 3 million. I got the beginning of October 50 million. I got they're just, but people again, is Facebook it's just. And
let's just remind people that this is the company that not a year ago said that everyone should upload their private nude photos to Facebook so that they could prevent other people from uploading them.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And they also tried to launch Facebook for children. And they tried to launch all of that facial detection stuff not facial detection, emoji little thought detection. And I think that they were actually working on something that would recognize the way that you were, or trying to look at if you'd recognize it from your facial reaction with the camera. So they could then give you, again, it was for a service to you. So they would target ads with stuff that you would actually like to see.
Like if you went, ooh, then they wouldn't share that ad with you anymore.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, that one wasn't good. Let's try a different one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Facebook, it keeps bad things. Facebook is, let's see. Yeah,
Facebook is like that creepy uncle. I'm sorry.
It's on fire. It's worse. It's more like that celebrity that gets away with doing really bad things, but you keep watching their movies.
Oh, that's what
that's what because people don't for every single time that they've shared our data that they shouldn't have, allowed leaks to come out, whatever the case may be, every single time it should have been everybody went shut, but it never happens, and the subscribership grows surprisingly.
But it doesn't grow at the youth market, right? It's not growing as it's not the younger generation that's kind of adopting. It's really the older, it's growing very, very small in the area of the youth. Whereas people that are older are just still using it. So it's almost like,
so it's grandpa's picture
granny driven.
Thank you.
That because you want to contact your grandmother, and that's the only thing that she
Facebook
has.
Portal.
Yeah, Facebook portal. Yeah,
that's true. But
this, you're also that they're the most sort of vulnerable because they're the least, they understand technology the least. And I don't know that I don't have the numbers in front of me for sure. And I don't know that younger people understand privacy better. But what I do know is that my mom doesn't understand privacy at all. And I'm sure that there's lots of people out there like her that just when they hear this information about leaks and bugs and things like that, they just go, well, I don't have anything to hide, so I'm fine. And that's what my mom thinks. And that's what a lot of people probably think. And they're the most vulnerable to this kind of stuff. And that's why Facebook keeps getting away with it, is that they just think, well, it's just my photos. I didn't put anything dangerous in my photos, or it's just my name and my phone number, but they don't have my credit card. When is the line drawn where people finally do say, okay, shut, I'm not doing this anymore, it's not worth my privacy? For a lot of people, doesn't seem to be a line.
It's when we find out who Granny's been snogging. That's when they might be like, oh, wait a second, this wasn't great. To be honest, though,
Granny snogging Santa Claus right on Facebook's update yesterday.
Oh man, you just wrote
make actually everyone stop using Facebook. That might not be that pretty. But I think that after a while, when all of the emails come out of what Zuckerberg actually knew and where he's at, and we find out a little bit more about who he is as a person, I think that slowly it sets in. Unfortunately, when we get leaked data about Facebook, it's funny because Facebook leaks it out. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But when Mark Zuckerberg's emails got leaked, he's like, no, these are private. You shouldn't take a look at them. Even if you have them, please send them back. Don't open them. Yet Facebook's fine to do that to you. Like, it's a very interesting kind of dichotomy in between both of that. And I think as more and more comes out and we are slowly getting to see the marketing feel to what Facebook is and what are they doing will slowly kind of seep in.
I hope so. I hope that once, we get a little more information about the way that they've kind of approached this stuff and addressed this stuff, that maybe that will start helping people, the general public, realize that, this easy access to sharing your statuses or saying hi to somebody that you went to high school with 25 years ago is just not worth it, because it's just not worth it. And I've said this before, that
it's a train. Yes, it's a train filled of garbage, and yes, it's on fire, but it's letting me go from here to there.
Eventually you will be buried in garbage and caught on fire.
but I'm getting to move 20 feet an hour for free.
Oh my God, Renee, that is hilarious.
What are we talking about?
My
new video that I just put live.
That is, I love that so much. Oh my
So for those of you watching, listening,
I
just put a new video live all about, because we had rumors about an iPhone SE that was an updated SE. Then we had rumors of an iPhone SE that was a small iPhone 10. And then we had no more rumors. So I did a whole roundup with what's happening. And the thumbnail just says SE10. And for some reason, George is giggling. I don't know why.
I don't know. It might be that you use the Roman numeral 10, which Apple always does.
Yes, it is an accurate thumbnail.
I absolutely love it. I would.
So maybe for marketing reasons, Apple didn't want to put out a second generation iPhone SE while the 10 is the number. So maybe when we finally hit 11, that's when we'll see a second generation iPhone SE.
Oh my goodness, that's
There's this rumor. I don't know if it's true. It might be that originally Tesla's plan was to have the Model S, and then the Model X, and then the Model E. But because of a because of a trademark with Nissan or somebody, they couldn't use E, so they used 3. So now it's S3X instead of SEX.
Well, I mean, that's just text speech right there. I think we all know what that means. So
that's elite. Yeah, so that video is live now. People, I know, Lori, the SE is near and dear to your heart.
It really is, and I think you give me an updated iPhone SE that even has it's smaller, but it has an edge-to-edge screen. I will throw all of my iPhones right in the garbage. I will throw them on that flaming train because I want that SE. I want a new SE so bad.
I thought she was going to say she would trample over our dead bodies to get them, Georgia.
I would do that too.
She probably would. I'm scared.
All right. So was there anything else in the news, Lori? I lost track already. It's been such a long week. It feels like it's been a month-long week.
It has been a long week. The only other thing that came to mind was the Super Micro. I really feel like we have to address this because we had multiple iMore show chats about what. I mean, it really was just like, I don't understand how such a important and authoritative news organization could possibly put out something that's like 100% wrong. Yet here these tech companies are standing up and they're saying, you are wrong. So Super Micro had their own investigation, and it came out on the 11th of December that Computer Hardware Super Micro Computer Incorporated told customers on Tuesday that an outside investigation firm has found that no evidence of any malicious hardware in its current or older model motherboards. So basically, like through an actual investigation from a third party, it wasn't their own private organization that went in and checked things. It was all wrong. So I'm still.
Well, they could find no. So they did let me backtrack for just a second. So the original accusation from Bloomberg, which is a highly respected news publication, was that Supermicro had components compromised at the factory level, and that there were hardware hacks basically installed. They called it the big hack, installed by basically Chinese intelligence, that were then sold to Apple, Amazon, and 48 other unnamed US companies. And that these were used as a backdoor to get access to the data and networks of Amazon, Apple, and these never named, they never ever revisited this, these other unnamed 48 companies. usually Apple and Amazon would say something like, we don't comment on rumors, or we're investigating this, and they'd wait for, you know, Logan Paul to do something stupid on, or PewDiePie to do something stupid on YouTube, and the attention would all go away, and then they'd never have to address it again. But they came out swinging, like in the strongest, like Rocky Balboa swinging at Clubber Lang, kind of swinging, what do the kids call it now? Creed, like Creed style swinging. And they denied it. They said they'd looked at it over and over again, that whenever they talked to Bloomberg, Bloomberg's story kept changing, and they could never find any evidence of it. The U.S. Military intelligence organizations, to the extent that they could, said that, you know, they'd never heard of any investigation or anything like this. C-level executives went on the record, like their chief information officers. Tim Cook said it was BS, basically, which again, feisty Tim Cook is the best. And Bloomberg, what would typically happen is that Bloomberg would provide not more names, but more information to prove their story, or other publications, because if there's a hint of this, other publications jump on it. And like New York Times and Washington Post, they spend serious money if they can follow up on these stories and get even more breaking news out of it. Nobody could find anything. And all Bloomberg would say is that we stand by our reporting. We stand by our reporting, even as it came out, like sources quoted in the article said that's not what they said. Or sources said that the pictures they're showing are diagrams. I sent them for an imaginary way that maybe we could do this, but that no one's actually doing it that way. And Bloomberg just kept saying, we stand by our story. And then there was questions about previous stories by the same reporter that were unproven or generally regarded as not accurate. Bloomberg has not said word one. And now Supermicro has had this independent audit where they got totally above board. They got the boards checked and they could find nothing. It's not like, oh, maybe it's incorrect. It's like, no. So either this is the biggest cover-up in the history of cover-ups, and generally humans are not good at cover-ups. They're really terrible. Can't keep a secret. Really terrible trait of the human race. The other possibility is that this was deliberate misinformation by someone who wanted to cause problems for the Chinese supply chain, and Bloomberg reporter who didn't, and editorial staff who did completely negligent in their due diligence. Or it was like that wonderful episode of The Newsroom where a reporter hears a story they like so much that every other bit of information they get is seen through the eyes of making that story right. Not figuring out if it's true or false, but embellishing on it because it's such a compelling story. And that also, so no matter how we count it though, and Marco Arment had a terrific vitriolic tweet about this, that is, it's an abject failure of journalism, and that he suggested that people should no longer be working at that publication. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, like to have a bunch of people quit their jobs. But if it is indeed false, it is in an era where people are trying to discredit the media, often for completely illegitimate reasons. We just can't afford to have this stuff like this happen. Sorry, I didn't mean to rant.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I certainly, you know, wouldn't want anyone to ever have to lose their job, but honestly, these people should have to lose their job, because that's the only way that this news organization that we trust could possibly continue to be someone that we can trust, because mistakes happen. And I can even believe that the person who wrote the article did it in good faith and did it because, and thinking that all of their information was true and factual, and it went wrong. But there's a number of people that I think did not do the proper checks to make sure that this was a legitimate factual story. And there's a list of people that I think should lose their job for letting this come out, so that Bloomberg as a whole could maintain its not respectability,
integrity.
And thank you, their integrity, so that we can continue to trust them. I've mentioned this before, that it's like I can't trust Bloomberg now because of the way they addressed the story to begin with. And still
with the other one, right? Like, because they said that Apple wasn't selling the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 was a disaster, and then it was the most popular iPhone ever.
Yeah. And so now they still haven't done anything. They haven't come out and made any open statement about this new supermicrocomputer, third-party independent research. They're still just mum about it. So what's Bloomberg doing? And frankly, like I don't want to not trust media, because they're their only checks and balances in the US, and they're failing across the board to be the checks and balances that we need. And if we can't trust them, then I feel like it's kind of a dangerous situation to be in when you know, I've always trusted that though it's bias, that our media is factual. And if you come out with complete untrue information, I'm not going to say that they're lies, but when you come out with information that's completely untrue, you have to fix that mistake somehow. You have to say, we have the wrong people working for us. They're not going to work for us anymore. We thought we had the right information. Here's a list of all the reasons that we thought it was true. And here's what we're going to do to fix this now.
You know, the problem with when we talk about journalistic integrity and media and just news, and because now there's this huge swing of, you know, anyone can write news, you know, fake news, biased news, all of these kind of words that we throw around. The real interesting thing is that if you see something, even if you know it's not really true, and you hear it enough to your brain, it can become true. And so when a long time ago, when they, you know, like really the people that write history, the history books and what we get taught, we really do believe, especially if taught to us at a really young age, to that. And I think that it is really important, because even if they retracted the story, it will not get the same amount of buzz that the story did. In like, the damage is already done. And truly, they're only accountable, any news organization or media is only accountable to the people that are reading it. And it's not going to get the same amount of hits. People aren't really going to discuss it. People aren't even going to be that upset, because there's so much happening that we have to absorb, and we cannot filter through that much. And so it kind of just sets a whole bunch of neurons out to, this is real. And if it fits within your own bias, and because Apple is kind of at the top, or one of the people that are at the top of the mountain, it feels good to kind of knock them down and look at, well, maybe they're not so shiny and clean. And no company is that shiny and clean, and they don't have to be. They supply a product, they try to do it with as much integrity they can, and they're allowed to make money. That's fine. They do not have to be shining knights. You know, they're doing the right thing, and they try to do it as honestly as possible to that. And even if they retracted the story, which is, it's just so sad that they did not, and they haven't really tried to hold themselves accountable, because by not holding themselves accountable to the people that are paying attention, then we have to always go back and check and question and look out to things. But maybe that's not a horrible thing. Maybe us always just making sure of what is actually, like, being not just absorbing everything that kind of comes at us, and looking at things with a critical eye, and reading statements of, this may kill you as well, then this also may not. That might be a good thing. Maybe we need to be starting to hold ourselves accountable. And I am that person that will often just read the title of whatever it is and be like, oh, and I won't read the article to be able to look at it with a critical eye, because I am also a consumer of quick, easy, fast, and I want to get back to my life. But maybe that's not the right way to go about this. And maybe we need to kind of go through some media literacy for our children and for people that are out there, so that we are not so easily gullible into whatever is the zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah.
Voltaire,
media literacy
freedom of thought, question everything. Let's look into this, do some science experiments, figure it out.
I think the danger, though, is that a lot of these issues are complicated and widespread, and people can amass knowledge in, you know, shallow knowledge broadly, or deep knowledge narrowly. But the amount of stuff, like, we need organizations that we can trust to crunch the stuff down for us, to give us what we think is reliable information, so that we can inform ourselves. And I think that this is abject failure on that part. And again, it's systematic. Because they got the iPhone 10 sales wrong. And some would say that's market manipulation at that point. Or at least it's complicit in market manipulation. And then the story gone. And again, Bloomberg has said nothing. Nothing about it, which is, to me, the even worse sin at this point.
But no one's held them accountable to that either. No one's upset about that. No one really, you know, no, there hasn't really been like, something happens, like, we are so easy to just think about the next thing, that there is no accountability to if there is reporting that is.
Bloomberg's like, oh, YouTube Rewind is giving us all kinds of cover. We're not going to worry about it anymore. And
we will move on, and that will be, you know, it'll just continue to happen to that. So then they think, well, you know what? We got a whole bunch of hits. You know, people were talking about it. What does it really matter? And it does, you're right, Renee, it does really matter.
Yeah. So what are you getting your family for Christmas?
Oh yeah, we have a Micah. Oh, so I have to point out, Micah is not on the show. He felt ambushed that Georgia was here last week without him knowing about it, so he could storm off of the show.
He's a little upset.
So he's refused to come back to this show. No, I'm just kidding. He finds Georgia delightful, as do we all. He just couldn't make it this week. But in a Micah style question, I wanted to ask this. I wanted to ask, what tech are you getting your families for the holidays?
So I'll go first. Let me pull something up. This year I bought my.
We have to make sure our family members do not watch the show.
My family members don't watch the show. They don't care.
I can't shout out hi Lori's mom. No,
yeah.
Unless it's on Facebook, she's not watching it.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I bought myself these iDevice switches. They also have like a little nightlight on them, which is really nice.
They're so great.
I bought them
Can I give you a pro tip with that, Lori? Because I found I had a huge learning experience with those. The minute you plug those in, you can no longer say turn off my lights because it'll think you're referring to that plug specifically. From then on, you have to say turn off all my lights or turn on all my lights.
What do you mean by all?
So if you want, like, when you go to bed and you want to say like, "Yo, Jimbo, turn off my lights," and usually I would just say that, and all the lights in my place would go off.
Right.
But the minute you plug that in, that takes over the name light, so it only turns on and off the night light. And if you want to turn off all those lights in your place, you have to literally say all the lights.
All my lights. So I see what you're saying, but you can change the name of that plug.
I tried.
Really? So
yeah.
Siri's fickle.
It is. I've got them all plugged into all of my Christmas lights, and I haven't had that problem, but I never say turn off all the, I never turn off all the lights. I usually I'll leave one or two on for like, to make people think that I'm up all night so they don't break into my house. That's honestly the truth. But I haven't tried doing that yet. So that's actually good to know. But it doesn't have to be the iDevice switch, but it's such a great Christmas present to get somebody, especially if your family members don't use Apple products, they only use Android products, because you can get like much less expensive Amazon Assistant or Google Assistant plugs. So by getting them a smart plug, they can take advantage of this smart home idea, but not have to spend all the money to get a bridge or get a really expensive light bulb or anything like that. They just plug in anything into a smart plug, and they get the advantages of the smart home features through their phone without having to like invest deeply in it, which I think this is a conversation that we had before of like, how do you present to somebody a smart home product? You're forcing them into an ecosystem that they may not be ready to get into. Smart plugs are the perfect beginner smart home thing because they don't have to do anything. And most families have an Echo device at this point. So they can even use their smart assistant on an Echo device to help turn it on and off switch if you buy a plug that supports the Alexa. Ooh. That supports the smart assistant from Amazon.
It's one of the gifts that they will probably look at you and be like, oh, and then later when they use it, they'll be like, this was life-changing. And it's so wonderful because it feeds our own need for laziness. It is great. It's great. Yeah. It's beautiful looking. It's like, it just looks really cool. It's got a cool glow. It's just awesome. But it is one of those things that they'll probably be like,
you got me a plug.
Thank you. Wall plug. Yeah, that's true. I do use electricity, but then they don't get it. And then when they use it, it's like, now you need to buy like that. Where did you get that? I need now another 10.
Yeah. And especially for me, like at Christmas time, I would have to go unplug every single plug that had some sort of light string attached to it because, I can't plug them all into one. So it would take me 5 minutes to like end my night around the holidays. And now I just say one phrase and all of my Christmas lights turn off and it's the best. And I set
great.
I set an automation so that all of the Christmas lights turn on after the sun goes down. So even if I'm out during the day and I come home when it's dark, my Christmas lights are already on. It's the best.
It's awesome because it's all holiday spirit
Mhm.
and you don't have to worry. But even if you say don't even celebrate the holidays, don't like Christmas lights, to have your lights turn on as if you're home also protects you from theft. Like people
Yeah.
are going to be like, are they, how did that happen? What happened to that? And it's a lovely thing. But just to say like, shut down the lights, like just turn off the house. We're done. You know,
Crash the compound.
good night. Yeah. Good night. And you don't have to get up because, and we have, all the lights work except for like one downstairs in the kitchen. That's the only problem, is that we have one light that is not on a smart switch, just because it's the kitchen lights. And I always forget because I'm used to now everything just, I don't have to manually touch anything really. That's a little bit sad and depressing. But besides that, it's all
We know
good.
what you need for Christmas then.
Well, that's what I want to ask Renee. Renee,
Yes.
what do you get the person that has everything?
So there's a couple.
I'm writing it down.
There are a couple cool things actually out there. Like you can always add a little bit more home automation to anyone's life. You know, like, so if they have like Nanoleaf, Canvas, or Aurora, you can get them a couple extra panels. I know. I see you rocking it.
Is that what you're hoping for, Renee?
No, I'm just going through my list. Like you can also get engraved Apple Pencil 2s now, the second edition Apple Pencil, and a lot of people are getting them with their little Twitter name on them. And that way, also, if you lose them, or you have, several people have them, you never get yours lost.
No one's bringing back an Apple Pencil. I'm just going to say it. They're going to just deal with the fact, because they are beautiful writers. Apple Pencils are amazing. No one's going to be like, giving it back. They're going to keep it.
Georgia is just going to destroy my list one item at a time. I'm setting them up for her, and she's just going to knock them.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Knock them straight down.
But you leave your Apple Pencil here. I'm going to be using a Renee Apple Pencil.
For people who have one HomePod, there's a lot of huge deals. I think Target has got $100 off HomePod still, so you can get a second one. Yeah, so you can get like a second one for a stereo pair, or another one for another room, and it just adds to the ecosystem. So there's a lot of cool things. I decided I was going to splurge this year, and I got most of my family Apple Watch Series 4, because just the combination of the fall detection, as Georgia has now proven effective,
very
and
effective.
the ECG app if they're in the United States, but just the blood, the pulse
heart rate monitor.
The heart rate monitors. Thank you. I was totally spazzing on that. The heart rate monitors, all those things just make it like literally a device that can save lives, which I think is amazing.
Okay, yeah. So Georgia, I don't think that helped you very much.
It didn't really help me. Like that was like, yeah, I was hoping to get a little bit more information there, Renee.
What he would want specifically.
Yes, yeah, exactly. He didn't really get it.
Yeah.
I've been getting like watch bands for people. It's just a nice thing to accessorize if it's just something cool to have, something that might be, something a little bit more classy if they don't have anything classy, because they're so easy to switch in and switch out. So I've gotten a sparkly one for someone. I've gotten one that looks kind of cooler and more like, leathery. There's a lot of people on Etsy. Now, again, I think that now we're kind of getting close to the crunch time of where you're going to have like pay for a lot of shipping to that, because you want it maybe to be before the holidays. But they have some really awesome bands that are out there. And I always go back, if you're looking for the bands, I do love the one that just wraps. It's not the most beautiful, but it is the most comfortable, easy, put on, put off. And so I think also Apple Watch bands are wonderful. And if you have someone that you have a monitor in your life, they, like maybe they have a monitor to make sure if they've fallen down, they need to call emergency services. Really, an Apple Watch is a wonderful upgrade for them. They don't really need to even use it for anything else, but you can then make sure that they're okay. And you can also call them. The Apple Watch, the Series 4 sound quality, I've been answering the phone. Now, I used to run for I would answer the phone just because where's my phone? I'd answer it on my watch. But the sound quality was really poor, and I couldn't hear very well what was happening. And I found that very unpleasant. So I would still move to my phone as quickly as possible, which was kind of stressful. But I was downstairs. My phone was upstairs, a million miles away to that. I answered my phone. I was talking to you, Renee. You didn't even know that I was on my watch. Yeah, I answered the call, not my phone. I answered on my watch. It was amazing. The call quality was fabulous. So if you also have someone in your life that never answers the phone because they can't find it, or if it's always somewhere else, or if it's someone that is older and you want to make sure that they're okay, if not, it is awesome and works really efficiently. It's very loud, so you don't have to worry about that. And you wouldn't even know that they're on their watch. So I think that that's an amazing gift. And I do recommend for some of my clients that are more getting older in age and are worried about that to pick up a watch. So for their safety.
Totes.
These are good gift ideas. I like it.
I think we nailed that.
I think so. I think this was a good show. Christmas
agree.
Renee pointed out that Christmas is 10 days from now. So
I know. Then I had a mini heart attack, and my Apple Watch didn't even beep.
Well, at least you know that your heart rhythm is normal. That's good.
Sinus.
If people want to follow you over this wonderful internet holiday season of ours, Lori Gill, where can they go?
Oh, they can follow all the things that I'm going to write about on iMore, because we've got some great gift guides coming up, some end of year best ofs coming up. I know you want to know what those are.
Yes!
I know what we all voted on. And you can find me at Appaholic on Twitter, APPAHOLIK, and at Lori Gill at most other social things.
Ooh, what about you, George Dow?
I'm kind of on Twitter. I deleted all of my tweets, but I'm still there. Some people have panicked saying what happened was I suspended, but I'm not. I just deleted everything. I know it should have been, but I wasn't. So you can check me out on at Georgia_Dow. You can also, if you're dealing with anxiety, we have actually a sale on all of the anxiety videos right now for, I think it's like 15 or 20, I think it's like 25% off. I don't know, somewhere around there. But again, so now it's really close to free. And you can check out Master-Life videos. I think it's just masterlife.com. or anxiety-videos.com. We have all of our new videos on conflict resolution and emotional intelligence, and they're on for like sale prices, even all of the package deals. So those are doing really well.
Nice. Awesome. Holiday sale prices. I like that.
If Micah Sargent were here, you'd be able to find him at Micah_Sargent. No, I'm kidding. At chihuahua.coffee for all of his things. You can find me at Renee Ritchie for everything, or just go to youtube.com/Vector Show and watch all the videos. And I want to take this moment to thank all of you for joining us once again this week and every week, because you are the best audience on the whole goddamn internet.
On the whole GD internet.
All of it.
You are audience AF.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.